All right, so we're diving into Moliere's The Miser today.
Ooh, excellent choice.
We're going to be focusing on Act 1,
Okay.
Act 2,
Uh-huh.
and Act 3.
Sounds good.
So we've got, kind of a cross-section of this play.
Yep.
And I'm really excited to unpack this one because it's so funny, but also really thought-provoking.
It really is. It's amazing how Molier can make you laugh, but then also hit you with these really deep ideas about society and human nature.
Exactly.
Greed, hypocrisy.
Yeah, greed is front and center in The Miser.
Absolutely. I mean, the title kind of gives it away, right?
Right from the start. We meet Harpagon, and he is convinced that his servants are spying on him and trying to steal from him.
Constantly
It's like
paranoid.
Yeah, it's paranoia to the max.
And you know what's interesting about that is that
What?
it all stems from his miserliness. Right.
It's true.
He can't trust anyone because he sees everyone as a threat to his precious possessions.
His wealth,
Yeah, so it's like this self-inflicted isolation in a way.
It is, and it affects his relationships, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially with his children.
Yeah.
Like with Cleante. Cleante just wants to,
Dress well.
dress well, have a nice wig.
Look presentable.
But Harpagon freaks out about every penny spent.
Right. Like, how dare he?
Yeah, like, come on, let the kid have a decent wig.
Exactly. It's like he's completely blind to anything outside of his own
little world.
little hoarded world of money.
And then there's Elise.
Oh, poor Elise.
I know, she's basically being forced to marry this
old man.
old rich guy,
Just for his money.
That's so awful.
It really highlights how Harpagon values money.
Above everything.
Above everything, even his own daughter's happiness.
It's sad, really.
Yeah, there's a real tragic element to it.
There is, but Moliere makes it so funny, too.
Right.
Like that scene where he mistakes a barking dog
Oh, yeah, for a thief?
for a thief trying to steal his buried treasure.
Oh, it's classic.
Pure slapstick.
It's brilliant how he does that,
Yeah,
Makes us laugh, but also reveals how delusional Harpagon is.
totally. And then there's that other scene where he's, like, calculating the dowry Marianne brings.
Based on her frugality?
Her frugality, yeah. Like, being good at saving money is an asset in itself.
Like a skill.
It's crazy, but so funny.
And what's interesting about that scene, too, is that it reveals how Moliere is subtly satirizing societal norms.
Okay.
Especially around marriage. Because Harpagon is constantly talking about without a dowry.
Yeah. He says that a lot.
It emphasizes how marriage is seen as a financial transaction.
A business deal, basically.
Exactly. And that takes away any genuine affection.
So we've got this miser who can't connect with his kids.
Right.
And now he's looking at potential wives purely through a financial lens.
Right. It's all about the money.
But here's the twist.
What's that?
Cleante is in love with Marianne.
Oh.
And guess what? Harpagon has fallen for her, too.
Oh, no. This is where things get really complicated.
Oh, yeah. And then Cleante needs money to woo Marianne.
Of course.
So he ends up dealing with this shady lender.
I can see where this is going.
And it turns out
It's his dad.
it's his dad. The lender is Harpagon.
Talk about awkward.
I know, right?
But it's such a brilliant way to show the destructive impact
Of his obsession with money?
Yeah, like it pits father against son.
Yeah.
Not for love, but for financial survival.
And it's all wrapped up in this comedic package.
Moliere is a master at that.
He really is.
Making us laugh at these situations that are actually pretty tragic.
So we've seen how Harpagon's miserliness affects his relationships with his servants, his children, and now even a potential love interest.
It's like a ripple effect.
It is. But the question remains.
Yeah.
Is he just a grotesque figure for laughs? Or is there something more to him?
That's what makes the miser so fascinating to me. Yeah.
Because Moliere doesn't just give us a one-dimensional villain.
True.
Harpagon's actions, as funny as they are, mask a deeper tragedy.
Oh, I see what you mean.
A real loneliness that he's created for himself.
It's like he's a prisoner of his own greed.
Exactly, and that's where I get stuck,
Yeah.
Like, he's undeniably funny.
Yeah.
But can we truly pity him when his own choices cause so much pain? It's a tough question, and I think that's the brilliance of Moliere.
It's like he's making us confront the complexities of human nature.
Exactly. We laugh at Harpagon, but we're also left wondering if there's any hope for him.
If he can ever break free.
From his obsession.
It's a question that keeps you thinking, even after the curtain falls.
And it's something we can all relate to in a way, right?
How so?
We all know someone who might be a little too fixated on money.
I guess so.
Or maybe we've even caught ourselves falling into that trap a little bit.
It's a human flaw, for sure.
It is, and Moliere holds up a mirror to that.
Forcing us to examine our own relationship with wealth.
And how it shapes our interactions with others.
Absolutely, and he does it all with such wit and humor.
That's the amazing part.
We can't help but laugh at ourselves in the process.
All right, so we've established that miserliness has a pretty devastating impact on Harpagon's relationships. And that he's a complex character who's both comical and tragic.
Definitely.
But let's dig into how Moliere uses humor and satire to critique society as a whole.
Yeah, let's get into that.
What are some of the techniques that stand out to you?
Well, one thing that really strikes me is how he uses language to expose the hypocrisy of the wealthy.
Interesting.
For example, Harpagon constantly talks about saving money as if it's a virtue.
Right.
But his actions reveal a much darker truth.
What's that?
It's not about frugality for him. It's about control and power.
It's about hoarding.
Exactly. He uses the language of morality.
Interesting.
To justify his greed, which makes it even more absurd.
And funny, in a way.
Right. It's like he's trying to convince himself, as much as anyone else, that his miserliness is a good thing.
And the way he talks about his children, too.
Oh, yeah, constantly complaining about their spending.
But it's all about protecting his own wealth.
It's like their spending threatens him somehow.
Right, like they're competing for resources.
Yeah, and it's sad because it shows he sees them as rivals.
Not as loved ones.
It makes you wonder if he's even capable of love.
Yeah, it's like his love is conditional on their frugality.
That's a good point.
Which reminds me of Frosine, the matchmaker.
Oh, Frosine. She's a piece of work.
She's constantly flattering Harpagon.
Playing on his vanity and greed.
To manipulate him.
Exactly. She's like a caricature of those social climbers. Who surround the wealthy, always looking for an angle.
Try to get a piece of the pie.
And it's so funny how Moliere portrays her.
She's hilarious.
But it's also a sharp critique of those who exploit the wealthy.
She doesn't care about Harpagon or Marianne at all.
Only what she can gain from them.
It's pure self-interest.
And speaking of hypocrisy, we have to talk about that scene with Moliere.
Elise's lover.
Yes, disguised as a servant.
Right, and he pretends to agree with everything Harpagon says.
Oh, that scene is golden.
It's so funny.
He's praising Harpagon's stinginess.
Yeah, like it's the greatest virtue.
You're claiming to share his values.
It's over the top, but so clever.
And beneath the laughter, Moliere is making a point
about
how people will compromise their principles for money.
It's a timeless theme, isn't it?
It is. And Valaire's exaggerated agreement with Harpagon is like a satirical jab at those who prioritize wealth over everything else.
It's like Moliere saying, look, this is what greed did to people.
Oh, exactly. It makes them twist themselves into knots.
To get ahead.
It's a scathing critique, but delivered in such a hilarious way.
That's what makes it work.
And that's the power of satire, right?
Yeah.
It allows us to laugh at ourselves and our flaws.
Without feeling too attacked.
It's a way to confront uncomfortable truths.
But in a way that's entertaining.
Exactly. And Moliere is a master at that balance.
He really is.
Making us laugh at the absurdity of greed.
Yeah.
But also making us think about its consequences.
So it's not just about the laughs.
It's deeper than that.
It's about making us reflect on our own values.
And priorities.
Asking us if we're any less susceptible to the allure of wealth.
And the characters we're laughing at.
That's a good question, and it makes me wonder.
What's that?
How much has really changed since Moliere's time?
That's a good question.
Are we still as obsessed with money and status as the society he was critiquing?
I think it's a timeless dilemma.
Yeah.
And that's why the miser still resonates with us today.
Because it speaks to something fundamental about human nature.
Exactly, that desire for more, that fear of scarcity.
It's built into us.
And Moliere taps into that so brilliantly.
So while we're laughing at Harpagon, we're also getting a glimpse into our own souls.
And maybe learning a little something about ourselves along the way.
It's a comedy with a powerful message.
Absolutely. It's both entertaining and thought-provoking.
It makes you think about your own relationship with wealth.
And your relationships with others.
And how those things are all interconnected.
The Miser is a play that stays with you long after you've seen it.
It does. It makes you question things.
And that's the mark of a truly great work of art, isn't it?
It is. And Moliere was a master of his craft.
Absolutely. He was a genius of comedy and satire.
And he used his talent to hold up a mirror to society.
Forcing us to see ourselves in all our flawed glory.
And to laugh at ourselves along the way.
Because sometimes laughter is the best medicine.
Especially when it comes to confronting our own weaknesses.
It's a reminder that we're all human.
And that we're all capable of making mistakes.
And that's okay, as long as we learn from them.
All right, so we've delved into the dark humor of Harpagon's miserliness.
Yep.
And how it impacts his relationship. We've also touched on how Moliere brilliantly uses satire.
To critique society's obsession with wealth.
Exactly. But I'm curious, is there any point in the play where we see Harpagon's humanity peek through?
That's a great question.
Is there any hope for redemption for this comedic villain?
That's what we'll explore as we dive deeper into the miser.
Stay tuned for more insights and laughter.
It's going to be a fascinating journey. When you talk about Harpagon's humanity, there's that scene where he describes his joy, handling his money.
Oh, right. It's almost like...
It's like a sensual experience for him.
Yeah, you're right. It's like he's...
It's more than just the money.
Oh, yeah.
It represents something deeper.
Purity, maybe even love in a twisted way.
Exactly. And that's where you see a bit of vulnerability.
I see.
The money's become a substitute for real connection.
He's so isolated.
Completely.
But does he even realize it?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Has he convinced himself that his wealth is enough?
It's like he's built walls around himself.
And those walls are made of gold.
It's sad.
It is, but Moliere still finds the humor in it.
Oh, yeah.
Remember the scene where he loses his cash box?
Oh, yeah?
He goes completely bonkers.
Accusing everyone.
Even the audience.
It's hilarious.
Pure comedic gold.
But it also shows how deep his paranoia runs.
He's terrified of losing his wealth.
It consumes him.
And the irony is that his obsession leads to more loss.
How so?
He's so busy guarding his money that he misses out on life.
On real connection.
On happiness.
It's like that saying.
What's that?
The only thing we can truly keep is what we give away.
That's a good one.
And Harpagon has given away everything.
His relationships, his happiness.
His sanity even.
All for the sake of wealth.
But he's not the only one at fault here.
Right. The other characters play a role too.
They enable him.
In different ways.
Through flattery.
Manipulation.
Deceit.
Frosine is a perfect example.
Oh, yeah. She's always trying to butter him up.
But she's also exploiting him.
Using him for her own gain.
And then there's Cleante.
Desperate for money.
To win Marianne.
And he has to jump through all these hoops.
Deal with shady lenders.
Because his own father won't help him.
It's a farce, but it highlights a real issue.
What's that?
How money can distort relationships.
Even within families.
Cleante is punished for wanting normal things.
Love. Companionship.
A life of his own.
Moliere is showing us the absurdity of it all.
How money can become this twisted measure of worth.
And that brings us to the heart of his satire.
He's not just making fun of a grumpy old miser.
It's deeper than that.
He's critiquing society.
Exposing the hypocrisy.
The greed.
The moral bankruptcy.
That often hides behind a veneer of respectability.
And he does it in a way that's both funny and thought-provoking.
We laugh at the characters.
But we also see ourselves in them.
Think about how we still equate wealth with success.
With happiness.
How often do we judge people based on their possessions?
It's something we all do, to some extent.
It's ingrained in our culture.
And Moliere forces us to confront that.
To question our values.
To think about what truly matters.
And he does it through the power of laughter.
Because sometimes, laughter is the best way.
To confront uncomfortable truths.
It makes us think.
Without feeling too preachy.
So we've explored Harpagon's miserliness.
And the society that enables him.
We've seen moments of vulnerability.
But also the destructive power of his obsession.
But what about the ending?
Does Moliere offer any hope?
Does Harpagon find redemption?
That's what we'll discover as we head into the final act.
Stay tuned.
To see how it all unfolds.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground with the miser.
We have lots of laughs.
And some serious reflection, too.
Definitely. Moliere makes you think.
He does.
But we're getting to the end of our deep dive.
And I'm curious about how it all wraps up.
The resolution.
Does Moliere give us a satisfying ending?
Well, let's just say it's clever.
Clever.
And thought-provoking.
Okay, so no clear-cut answers.
Not exactly.
Does Harpagon change his ways?
Does he have that big epiphany?
Yeah.
Not really. Remember, this is a comedy.
Right.
So we're not going for tragic downfall here.
But it's not a simple happy ending either.
No, it's more about a series of events.
Okay.
And some clever manipulations.
Oh, so external forces come into play.
You could say that.
So it's not really about Harpagon changing from within.
It's more like the world around him shifts.
And forces him to adapt.
Kind of almost like Moliere saying that greed, it's a stubborn beast.
It's hard to break free from.
Even when faced with happiness.
And connection.
It's a struggle.
It makes you think about how we all get stuck in our ways.
We do, even when they're not good for us.
It's human nature, I guess.
To some extent, and Moliere captures that brilliantly.
So he's not giving us easy answers.
Nope.
But he's giving us insights.
Into the complexities of greed.
And the challenges of overcoming it.
Exactly. It's a journey, not a quick fix.
So we've talked about the miserliness.
Satire, the humor.
What's the key takeaway?
For you, what's the big message of the miser?
It's a cautionary tale.
Okay.
About letting anything consume us.
Anything.
Whether it's wealth, power.
Obsession.
When we lose balance.
We lose sight of what matters.
Human connection.
Love.
Generosity.
It's a powerful message.
Especially today.
When material success is so emphasized.
Moliere reminds us.
That true happiness lies elsewhere.
In who we are.
How we connect.
It's about relationships.
And he does it all with a sense of humor.
Laughter is key.
It helps us reflect.
Without getting too heavy.
So to our listener.
If you're looking for a play.
That will make you laugh.
Make you think.
Check out The Miser.
It's a timeless masterpiece.
Full of insights.
And laughter.
And here's a final thought.
Okay, shoot.
Can even our good qualities.
Or strengths.
Become detrimental if they define us completely?
Ooh, that's a good one.
How do we find that balance?
Between our passions and our connections. It's something to ponder.
It is something to keep in mind as we navigate life.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into The Miser.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you've enjoyed the journey.
And the laughs along the way.